Okay. The House Families and Veterans Committee will come to order. Would the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Schmaltz?
Yes, here.
Representatives Wozniak?
Here.
Fox?
Yes, sir.
Johnson?
Here.
Thompson? Pavlo?
Here.
Wolford?
Here.
Young?
Here.
Burns?
Here.
Reingens? Song?
Present.
Madam Chair, you have 9 members present, a quorum.
Representative Pavlov moves to excuse absent members. Without objection, so ordered. Representative Thompson moves to adopt the minutes of the August 12th meeting. Without objection, so ordered. So our first order of business today is to hear testimony on House Bill 4570. This is my bill, so I will hand the gavel over to Vice Chair Wozniak. The committee will go at ease.
We'll call the meeting back to order. Representative Schmaltz, present your bill. You're limited on time to 2 minutes.
Okay, you are limited to 1 minute over there. Okay. Thank you, Chair, I think, and committee members. It's a pleasure to be here, and even on this side. With me is Alex DeYoung, my legislative director, who helped me a lot on this bill. Okay, so we all know that we have to do more for our foster care children, including when they age out of the system. Many of these young people have nothing, especially financially. My House Bill 4750 addresses this issue. It deals with the management of financial benefits for children in foster care, making sure they have a financial nest egg when they age out of the system. Currently, any federal benefits the state collects on behalf of children in the foster care system are used to reimburse the state for the cost of their care. But these benefits, such as Social Security, Supplemental Security Income, and Veterans Administration benefits, are really the child's money and should go to the child. My bill would set aside these federal funds for the child's future needs, a financial safety net. So the bill ensures that all financial benefits for foster care children are used or conserved for the child, not to offset the state expenses. My plan also includes financial literacy training and ensures young people are notified about all the federal benefits the state applies for and collects on their behalf. This will make sure they have the knowledge and tools they need to manage their finances responsibly. So just a little bit on foster care kids. Nationally, more than 19,000 young people left foster care in 2021 without a permanent family home. The average is about 23,000 a year nationally. About 1,600 children age out of foster care in Michigan each year, often at age 18. And when that happens, the state is no longer legally obligated to offer any assistance to them. Some other statistics in our state: 33% report experiencing homelessness between the ages of 19 and 21, 25% find themselves in prison or in jail, 27% become parents when they should be building a foundation for their own future. So we can't let this happen anymore. We can't let them age out of the system without helping them, financially and in other ways. We expect them to be successful when many of these young people have nothing. Again, there's a lot more we need to do to help our foster care kids, but this is just a start, and I think it's a good start to make sure that they are at least financially stable when they age out of the system. So we'll take any questions that you have.
For your testimony on this bill today. My question has to do with the financial literacy component. I certainly recognize the value in that. Given the circumstances, I think that's very important. Can you talk to us more about what that would look like? For example, is there a model curriculum that already exists that you would base that off of, and who would implement that training?
And this training starts way before they age out, too. Do you want to talk about it?
Thank you for the question, Rep. So there are financial literacy programs established, through, I think it's DOE, Department of Education, and it would use that model for the financial literacy.
So it would go, personal finance, there's a whole list of different, if you've looked at the Department of Education, what that, it's supposed to be, each high school student is now supposed to be getting a half credit of financial literacy, which isn't exactly happening, and I have a bill about that too. But it includes everything from investments to personal finance to even writing checks, although people don't do that anymore, just to make sure that kids know what they're getting into and they have some aspect of what to do financially when they graduate from high school. And this would happen with the foster care children.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So it sounds like the Department of Ed kind of model curriculum is there. And who would be implementing the training? I know you made a reference to schools and that curriculum. Would you envision it taking place through the schools, or would this be some other type of entity that would deliver the financial literacy education in this case?
I think the schools would be a pretty viable option. There's nothing concrete.
Yeah, there's nothing really concrete on this. I know with most schools, and I've met with many personal finance people, CPAs, investment firms and stuff, who are now going into the schools and teaching financial security and financial aspects to all these kids, and it would probably be the same type for these kids.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'd love to continue that conversation. Again, I see the need for the financial literacy component. Would just like to learn more, since it is, it seems like a requirement in the bill. Would like to just learn more about how that'll be solidified in terms of the delivery. So
yeah,
thank you.
it is. It's already a requirement in the state. Like I said, it's not happening. And I work with Junior Achievement a lot with financial literacy, and they go around the state offering mainly a lot of financial literacy to all of our kids, which is really important. So it's a big thing right now, because we're finding out that our young people are lacking in that area, and it's important to make sure we focus on that.
Sure. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Excuse me, I don't think you're allowed.
Is there a vetting process that DHHS will have to go through to appoint a payee representative or a fiduciary? And can they just say, no, you're not qualified? Go ahead.
So currently, there's not a vetting process. We are, in the process of working with people to try and establish that vetting process. But as of right now, it's anybody but the department is kind of the theme for the bill.
Right. The money is, it's the children's money. And some other states, there's 2 states, I think Arizona, Massachusetts, are now changing their laws to do what we're trying to do here. But all states are looking at this because it is the children's money. And the state shouldn't be taking it for their care. Matter of fact, the state collected $3.2 million from foster care kids in fiscal year, 100%. 2022, 2023 fiscal year, $3.2 million that was supposed to go to the kids. So all these benefits are being looked at, and they are ordered to let the kids know from the beginning what benefits that are there for them and what they're entitled to.
Rep. Wolfert.
Thank you. When they take this money from the child, where does it go? Is it at their discretion to spend it however, or what is the?
Well, they're using it for the cost of the care of the children. They're taking it from the children to use for the cost of the care, but these benefits are for the children.
Right.
It's their money.
And
So the
there's-
state shouldn't be using their money for the
Correct.
cost of their care.
And there's other monies allocated for taking care of them, so this is just them taking more of that money?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Something we're trying to do in the probate courts right now is to create that vetting process to appoint fiduciaries or payee representatives so that the judge, whoever is there, has to give reasons why they're appointing that person or they're not appointing that person. And I'd like to see something like that come across.
Right, well, we know which benefits go to the kids, so that's not a question there. It's just a matter of making sure that those monies are set aside and the state's not using them. So the DHHS has to make sure that that's happening. And there are representatives for the kids who will make sure that happens too.
Great. Any other questions? Oh, well, I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead, Rep. No, I'm sorry. Rep Young? No?
It's okay, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing this legislation forward. And also thank you for touching on a couple of other states that are looking at doing this. Are there any states that currently are doing this?
Well, I think partially, some states are doing it partially. I was trying to look up all the statistics last night, but I did come across the Arizona and Massachusetts who are really looking into doing what we're doing here. So they're starting to look at it because they realize, I think, that this is the child's money and the state doesn't need to be taking this. The kids need it when they age out. These kids don't even have relationships. They don't have families. They don't have, and we expect them to be successful. And you heard the statistics I talked about. We can't let them age out and have absolutely nothing. We have to help them out, and this is financially, we need to help them out in other ways too, but it's really important. So yes, a lot of other states are looking into it right now.
Quick follow-up, Mr. Chair, follow-up. Your finger on there. Okay, thank you. So I'm curious, during your conversations with the department, were they able to share with you exactly how they use the money now? Because you and I are on the same page when it comes to helping our foster youth. I have legislation in the queue to do some similar things. And so, but I am curious to know how the department has responded, how they're saying, we understand that it could go to the kids, but this is how we use it to help them. Boom, 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 boom. Have you gotten that information?
So our conversations with how they're using the money to reimburse themselves it's not been a very in-depth conversation. We haven't gotten that information from them, and their response times have been a little bit slow. So.
Imagine that.
Okay, all right, I'm going to look into it as well. Thank you.
Okay.
Rep Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I love this idea, and foster care needs all the support we can give it. I guess I'm suggesting more definitive process for handing the money to them, investing, saving, the whole process, and maybe it's just I just don't know enough detail, but I love the financial literacy part too, because you hand someone 18 years old a chunk of money, we all know that's not going to go well. The financial literacy requirement in education, I was on the education committee last year, and it was apparent that it's not happening in our public schools. And here and there it is, but across the board, it's not. So how do
Right,
we?
I actually have a bill on that to make sure it's
You're going to
happening.
fix that too?
Yeah.
Oh, you're awesome.
No.
Thank you. Because that really, it needs to be across the board.
Right.
Then we wouldn't have to worry about this so much just with
Right.
foster care.
It is not happening, you're right. So, no, my bill will make sure that it is happening.
Okay, thank you.
Rep Burns again.
Thank you, Chair. Rep, my question has to do with notification requirements. There's a note here that under the bill, HHS would be required to immediately notify the child through the child's attorney of, certain, like an application, a decision, communications, things of that nature. Can you talk to me more about the child's attorney? Are children in foster care being assigned an attorney? Is this pro bono? Just walk me through what that looks like. I was uncertain. I did a little digging, but wasn't quite sure.
Well, I think it's the attorney and whoever is representing the child. Do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so the child should be assigned an attorney, and therefore, that would be the primary notification way, through the attorney.
But it's any representative who is, representing the child and the child.
Okay. And just to follow up on that, if I may, who would assign an attorney if a child were assigned someone? Does the department do that, or how does that come about?
Well, I think when you enter the foster care system, you have different representatives who represent the child. And at that time, I think it's determined.
Okay, so when a child enters the foster care
Well,
system? Okay.
It depends. I mean, I worked with a lot of foster care kids in Jackson County, and different agencies who deal with them might have different ways of doing things.
Okay.
I did the Wendy's Charity Classic Dave Thomas Foundation event for a long time, and we deal a lot with foster care kids, but Family Services, Children's Aid in Jackson deals with a lot of kids. But then you have another agency that might deal with them. So some of the policies may be a little bit different.
Okay, so it sounds like then through maybe community organizations or like law firms maybe are able to provide that service pro bono legal representation perhaps?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I'd still like to learn more about that. If
Yeah.
there's more information to be shared, please send that my way. Thank you.
Yeah, that kind of follows up on my questions about vetting and putting people in that position and the reasons that they put them in that position, because they are considered fiduciaries and it becomes a due process, a claim. Rep
It is-
Wolford.
Yeah, there's a lot more we have to do in this spectrum of foster care, and as we know, there's so many issues there, but the bottom line is we're not taking care of these kids, and they're not being represented properly, they're not being housed properly when they get out of the system, so it's just, there's a lot more we have to deal with there. This is just the first step.
Thank you. So this is basically designed to make sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is a question. There's taxpayer dollars that have been allocated to go with the child in this system, and then the state is taking those monies that were to be with the child and then spending it on other things. Is that correct?
Right, it's, like I said, military benefits, Social Security benefits that are the child's money the state is using to help supplement caring for the child.
So good. So with this bill, and when it passes, I think a lot of these questions need to be done to the people who we pay at DHHS to do this job, and not to you. And I'm not giving anybody a hard time about questions. I'm saying we have people that we pay to do this, and we need to bring accountability to those people who are not effectively doing their job. So.
I agree with you. There needs to be accountability to a lot of our departments.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Rep. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following up on the attorney, would it be accurate to say that generally in those situations within the foster care and guardianship that the court appoints like a guardian ad litem to represent the child and be the child's representative? And that person usually stays with them until deemed unnecessary?
That's usually, yeah.
So kind of the court gets involved in that. And then the Social Security benefits, so if they're in foster care, that money could come from if their parent was in the military or if their parent passed away at a young age, whatever their parent paid into Social Security, that would be their money. Or if they had ADHD or
Right.
diagnosis where they are getting Social Security disability benefits, that's the money that you're talking about.
Right,
that
and
the
I was
child
reading a
should be.
case actually of a mom who was still supplying clothes for her her child, but the child was in foster care, and the dad, who was in the military, passed away a long time ago, but the state was still taking the money.
Now, does the state give the home or the foster home or the foster parents? Because it could be either or, right? They could be living in a foster home with multiple children, or they
This
could
is not
be-
taking money away from the foster
No,
family.
no, and that was to my point,
Right.
because don't those families get paid
Right,
money for
right.
housing the children and food stamps and Medicaid and everything? Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, your time is up.
So is yours.
The committee will go at ease.
Thank you very much. The committee will come to order. We have to do this over since Rep. Thompson wasn't here when I first said it. So Rep. Thompson moves to adopt the minutes of the August 12th meeting without objection, so ordered. Thank you, Rep. Wozniak, for that stunning performance there. Our next testimony is coming to us from Zoom. This is Steve Castle. He's from the Jackson Interfaith Shelter, a homeless shelter in Jackson, also a foster parent. It's all yours, Steve.
All right, thank you, Representative Schmaltz. And I appreciate just the good questions, and I'm excited to see where this goes. So I'm going to just kind of be sharing a little bit of my perspective. So as Kathy said, so I'm a current foster parent. So my wife and I have been fostering for 4 or 5 years. Actually, we adopted our daughter out of foster care. She was 11 months old when she first came, and she's 5 years old now. And then we currently have a 9-month-old and a 2-year-old who just had his second birthday on Sunday. So they're currently with us. They've been with us for about 4 months. And then, as Kathy said, I oversee the homeless shelter in Jackson, Michigan. It's about 50 years old, been just a pivotal part of the community doing emergency shelter. So that's been a perspective shaper as well, and a lot of the things that go on through DHHS, through foster care world intersects with our work at the shelter as well. Within the shelter, we own several properties, and we actually helped get a separate organization started that's completely separate from us, but we kind of helped to launch them initially and support in different ways. An organization called My Place that primarily works with boys and girls aging out of the foster care system, and they started largely because of the high propensity for human trafficking or homelessness from these kids that age out, and so they're helping to meet that need. And then kind of just, I guess, to give a little perspective, a lot of kind of how my thinking has been shaped. I was a Peace Corps volunteer about 20 years ago in Zambia, Africa. After I graduated from college, I had an education degree, and a wife of 6 months. We just had our 20th anniversary, but we were married for 6 months when we were shipped off to live in a hut for 2.5 years. And a lot of the work we did there, it was rural development, kind of in the bush of northwestern Zambia. You would kind of learn there's really significant needs, and a lot of times the help that people are supposed to get, whether it's specifically for kids, for education, or different type of things, lots of money would be allocated, then almost nothing would trickle down to the actual people that were supposed to be getting the services, or to try to break whatever cycle was going on and make sure the future was going to be different in 30 years because of the help that supposedly was going to be coming. And so there were a lot of creative things that people would think through, kind of like you're all doing right now, of how do we take this system and try to do better with it. And it's not blow the whole thing up, but there clearly needs to be some tweaks made so that the intended help can be enhanced. So, for an example, in Zambia, a lot of times what a lot of organizations started doing is they would see in a lot of the village situations, because of the culture and some of the hierarchy within the family, if the money went directly just to the father, a lot of times it would get drunk away and none of the help would get to the kids or to the family. And so something a lot of organizations strategically did is they would funnel the money to the moms in different ways, and then basically 100% it would end up getting to where it needed to. And so those are, some tweaks that they made. And I, when talking to Alex and Kathy, I think those parallels kind of came to my mind, where if the hope with these kids is here's these funds and they're going through the system, they've been through unbelievable trauma. A lot of them have been bounced around a lot. They might get out and have no driver's license, no car, and all of these funds had been ideally set aside to make that down payment on a car, to get their first apartment, to pay for an organization like My Place to provide 2 or 3 years of housing and wraparound support and fund things like that. So if those resources, especially if they're already there and they're not actually getting to their intended place, I think there's a lot of room where we could make sure it really does get to those that need it. And I think that's just another step towards breaking some of that generational cycle that we see, and giving another bit of a leg up to some of these kids that have just faced unbelievable adversity. So that's, I guess, kind of main thing I wanted to share. And I appreciate you guys diligently thinking about this. I think there's a lot of good questions that have come up today to make sure, if this change is made, how is it going to be done well? What does the financial literacy actually look like? How do you keep the people responsible if they are the fiduciaries? I think those are very legitimate questions that need to be asked. I do think, from my own personal experience, sometimes when the massive organization is in charge, then nobody's in charge. Even my experience, sometimes the child's lawyer, the guardian ad litem or whoever's assigned is supposed to connect, within a couple of weeks or the first month. Sometimes it's 4 or 5 months and they don't even make an initial contact with this child. And so even to say, how do we keep them accountable? I don't honestly see, from doing this for many years, not only in the foster world, but in the greater social service world, a lot of times they'll just fall through the cracks, where if there's more local people or individuals or families that have oversight of that, I think there's the potential of accountability, because if corruption is happening, there's a lot more chance this person can get in trouble, where sometimes when it's just a massive system, nobody even knows who to go to, who do you blow the whistle to. And so I think the more things can be localized, so the money's getting where it needs to and accountability is more on the local level, I think that would be a good thing. Like with anything, a lot of times there's unintended consequences. So I think asking all those questions up front are going to be important to minimize those. But that's kind of the main gist that I wanted to bring in the perspective. And, depending on how this moves forward, if there's any help or resource I could be personally or connecting with any other folks that would be able to answer questions or share perspective, I'd be happy to.
Well, thank you, Steve, so much. And Steve is one of the most caring people I know. He's just amazing with the homeless shelter and being a foster parent. His kids are beautiful also that he's fostering. But Steve, we really appreciate you, and I know I go to you a lot for issues like this because you're so informed and you've dealt with these kids and these people for so long, and I really appreciate your perspective. And I know there's a lot more we need to do, like I've said, with our foster care system to help these kids. But again, this is a start, so I appreciate you being here. Are there any questions for Steve? Rep. Fox?
Yeah, thank you, Steve, for your testimony. And I'm fascinated by you call yourself an interfaith shelter. And so I guess I'd like to know more what's behind that, because I'm a strong believer that we are spiritual, social, physical, mental, emotional beings. And how are you addressing the bigger picture besides just the finances and what you're up to there?
Thank you. Yeah, said the host had to let me unmute. Thank you, host. Thanks for that question. So we were founded 50 years ago. A lady by the name of Bev Gard just learned about a guy freezing to death on the streets of Jackson. She was a Christian lady, part of one of the Catholic parishes. And so for her, when it initially started, she was just thought, how is this happening in our own community? we can do better, and we need to rally the troops to make sure if there's anything to do, we can, to make sure the most vulnerable aren't falling through the cracks. We need to do that. They actually ended up coming up with the name interfaith initially, which is technically not the right way to use it, which kind of bugs me as somebody that values words a lot. But a lot of times in the past, people would say, are you of the Catholic faith or are you of the Christian faith or are you Protestant? And so there's those divisions within the church. So they didn't want people to see this as the Catholic shelter or the Baptist shelter, but just we're all coming together as a community to help. That being said, we're a low barrier emergency shelter. Anybody's welcome. So we're not, it's not contingent on faith or no faith to come, or you don't have to say a prayer before you get food. But we are proud and committed to that faith and Christian heritage that we have. And I think we want to embody what Christ did, and he modeled that well. And I think if we do that well, we're going to be caring for the least of these in a lot more significant way than we even do now.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your use of Scripture.
Yes, and they're in the process now of starting a family center so they can have a better place for families and free up more beds for individuals because the need is always there, and they always have people who need a place to stay and call home. So thank you, Steve, so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have a few cards to read in support of the bill. Ellie Jordan, Michigan Poverty Law Program. In support of the bill, Bobby Dorrego Jones, Michigan Association of United Ways. In support of the bill, Elizabeth Henderson, Michigan Federation for Children and Families. Okay, there being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.